I'm Kat.
And I'm Hayley.
And this is Night Classy, a tipsy night class teaching the oddities and curiosities you never learned in school.
Powered by a thirst for knowledge and boxed wine, we cover the most fascinating lessons in history, science, true crime, pop culture, and the paranormal.
What are we drinking for this learny journey, Hayley?
We have a special, truly, very berry, wild berry, I mean.
It really is.
Very wild berry.
It is very wild, it's very berry, and very delicious.
We are not sponsored.
Yes, we
by
are.
them. In our brains, we are visualizing it.
Yeah, visualizing for the future. But no, this slaps. It's very good.
It does. Yeah, we were at Target the other day, and you know how you walk into Target and then you buy everything?
Yeah, I was at Target yesterday. That's why I have the pants I'm wearing.
Oh my God. We were at
them?
Target at the same day.
That's
I did
crazy.
see them.
What time were you at Target?
Probably like one or two.
I was there at like 5:30 or 6.
Oh,
so
little
I
night
missed
owl.
you. Yeah, I was doing a little late night. Alec wasn't there last night. He was at a Last Podcast on the Left live show. Big fan. And he's not. He had never heard them before going to the show, but he liked it. He is now. And so I had a night to myself for the first time in a very long time.
Those are so good.
It was
every time.
It was very good. So I got myself some clearance sweatpants and drank wine in my bed. And
clearance too?
They were $8, Hayley.
No way.
Yeah.
I got a shirt for $20. It was like 20% off. So
Okay,
not the
so
same,
still a
but
sale.
We both were sales bitches yesterday.
I'm always a sales bitch, but
yeah, that's my life.
First I got caught up on RuPaul's Drag Race, and then I started watching Midnight Mass. Have you watched that?
No, I have no idea what that even is.
It's like, well, did you watch Haunting of Hill House? Okay.
Nope.
That was another Netflix show made after a book, and it was great. And I started watching Midnight Mass, and I don't like it so far, but I also haven't watched much of it. But the reason I'm telling you this is because the brother from iCarly is in it, Spencer.
Spencer, yeah.
And
Spence man.
he looked old as shit. Like he looked like he was 50.
He looked old as shit when he was in iCarly.
No, he looked old for like the brother of a middle schooler, but he did not look old. Like he plays like a priest or something in this show, and I was like, is that someone's grandpa? Like, come get your grandpa, because what the fuck?
I always like seeing when people who are in that industry, like in Hollywood, those who choose to have work done and those who don't, it's so fun. Like, I don't care either way.
Oh, no.
I'm like, if you like it, I love it, whatever. But there are some people where it's very clear, like the Friends cast.
Yeah, they've had a lot done.
But not all of them.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm not saying he looked bad. Like, he looked like a 10 out of 10 daddy.
He looked like a normal 10 out of 10 daddy.
I had a crush on him when he was on iCarly. And
who didn't?
No, I still do. But yeah, he looked old, and I was watching and I was like, wow, he's really old. And then I was like, well, that means I'm really old. And then today I found my first gray hair on my head.
Did you pull it out, or are you keeping it?
I pulled it out because I wanted to see it. And the interesting thing about it is it's brown halfway, and then it turns white like perfectly halfway. So it just decided to start turning white.
Yep. Yeah. I had the same experience. And a couple of mine, because I don't care about pulling them or not, but same thing, like I just wanted to see it. And mine went brown, white.
Mine was kind of banded like that too, like toward the middle. It was like a ombre transition. It was brown and then brown, white, and then got white. So weird. I kind of digged it though, but then also I ended up having to pull out like 10 of my hairs trying to get the one that I wanted.
Oh my God. I'm a professional now at looking and oh my God, I can't even talk. Pinpointing gray hairs. So I'll have to show you, because I have quite a few at the crown of my head, and then I'm noticing a few more towards the front of my face. So it's happening.
This afternoon, I noticed I had some gray hairs. I've noticed them before, but in the light, it looked like there were a lot of them. And so I was like, Kat, like, how many white hairs do I have on the side of my head? And she was like, oh, it looks like maybe 30 or 40. And I like panicked. I was like, oh man, this must have happened overnight. And then she's like, oh, sorry, that's just the way the light. Probably 3.
The sun was shining in my eyes. And also, I was a little bitter because I found a white hair on my head, so I was just ready for someone else to feel my pain. And I saw an opportunity to like twist the knife, and so I did.
If you want to feel good, look up pictures from when you first met Tommy and then look at his hair closely now. Because that guy, he's going to be all gray, white in 5 years. Guaranteed.
I had a dream about you and Tommy last night.
Oh.
I had a dream that you guys got like a Scandinavian foreign exchange student, and together you made the worst macaroni and cheese I've ever eaten. And then you told me you were going to break up with Tommy because he's annoying.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All of those things would never happen.
I know.
Because I can make some good ass mac and cheese.
You can.
I'll take a foreign exchange student, I guess. I don't have anything to exchange though. So
Yeah. I mean, it was strange that you two as like a couple, I mean, you're in your 20s, Tommy's not, but like took
We
in
decided.
like a high school girl and you like abandoned her at our house and she was just hanging out with me and Alec all the time, and then you went to Tommy's house and just left her there because you were like, it's better because she can just have my bedroom to herself. And I was like, I guess I see your point, but also
I'm just
she's
pushing
not
her
my
off onto
responsibility.
you.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I will never break up with Tommy. So nice dream, Kat. Thanks for putting that out there.
It was the alternative reality or alternate reality where the opposite happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of fun. I like that a lot better
Me
now.
What's the opposite of having a Scandinavian foreign exchange student?
Not having
a Scandinavian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Accurate.
Not having one. Or you going to Scandinavia and being the foreign exchange student.
Oh man, I wish I would have been a foreign exchange
Me
student.
too. Oh, actually I was, but not only
Yeah.
once.
Okay.
Yeah, I was. And I went to school in Germany and it
For
was
like
very cool.
months.
No, just for like 1 month. It was a summer.
Month. It was a long time. Longer than I went.
It was great. And the best part about it was they don't drink flat water. So every day my host family would give me a 2-liter bottle of sparkling water. And that was my water for the day. And it tasted so good.
Makes you sound like a princess.
I felt like a princess.
Sparkling water, please.
It ruined me on all other water. But they also don't refrigerate their drinks. So it was like lukewarm, which I did not like that part.
Yeah, I feel like that brings it back to just normal water. Like I know scientifically it doesn't, but how I rank it, it's like carbonated water would be really great cold. I don't think I would like it at all lukewarm.
Yeah. And it wasn't like LaCroix. Like it was like mineral water, like Perrier. So like the carbonation was really like small. I don't know if I'm describing that.
Small.
You know,
Small
when there's big carbonation, like in this Truly, and small carbonation, like in a fancy sparkling water.
Different sizes.
Different sizes of bubbles. It's the small bubbles.
Different levelage. Bubblage. 'Tis the bubblage that pleases me.
It really is.
Actually, it doesn't. It doesn't please me.
I know you
It makes
don't
me
like
burp and I
carbonation,
don't like it.
so you're just being a fake bitch.
I'm just trying to be funny.
Well, don't.
Well, fine.
I have
You're
something
really
for
ruining
you.
the vibes. You have something for me?
Yeah, for your half birthday.
What is it?
Do you want to see it? It's your present.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do.
1 second.
Now I feel weird that I didn't get you a half birthday thing, but your half birthday
Well-
is coming up since you're pushing 26.
It's for your half birthday, but also it's because I saw it at Kroger today and I just wanted to buy it for you.
Okay.
Here you go.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. It's Dolly Parton Southern style coconut flavored cake mix with her creamy buttercream frosting. I saw this on somebody's story and I was like, oh my God, I should go get that. And then
I knew it.
you
I
know-
knew you had seen it before and I knew that you would see it and then you probably hadn't bought it and then I got to be the one to buy it for you.
Oh my God. Okay. Can we make this?
Yeah.
Maybe like tomorrow night.
Oh, yes, for movie night.
Movie night.
And I bought popcorn so we can have popcorn and cake for our movie.
Yes.
And you know what movie we should watch?
something with Dolly Parton, 9 to 5 probably.
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
I've never seen it.
Forget about my idea. Let's
What
do
was
that.
your idea?
My idea was, do you know, and I wish I could remember their name, but there's a TikToker who like recaps Christian movies. Like cheesy, horrible, like dumb Christian movies. And he recapped this like crazy sounding one and it's called Old Fashioned. And I found it, and it's free on the Roku channel. So I want to watch it for laughs.
Add it to the list.
But we should definitely start with Dolly Parton.
Yeah, we have a theme going on.
Yes.
Can you show the camera real quick for our YouTube audience?
Isn't it pretty? She looks like very much looks like a Barbie. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
It's
my
very
gosh, I
cute.
bet it's so tasty too.
I know. I love coconut cake.
Me too.
Should we get shredded coconut to put on it?
Yes.
Or raspberries?
I wish you would have said something. I also have strawberries at the house. We bought a
strawberries
bunch
would be good.
yesterday. Because I just shredded up all of my coconut today to make like a yogurt. Like literally today to make a yogurt topping.
You shredded coconut?
Yeah,
Did
it was
you buy
already
a
dried. It was
coconut?
like in big chunks. No, I didn't buy a coconut.
I shredded all of my coconut already today. I can't. I was not expecting that.
That sounds crazy, but it's true. I shredded all my coconut, my almond, and my dark chocolate morsels.
All of those would be good on the cake.
Put them all together.
But yeah, we should definitely get shredded coconut and cut up your strawberries and put it on the cake.
Let's do it.
Should we make a whole cake or cupcakes?
Can you make cupcakes with this?
Yeah, it's cake mix. You can make whatever kind of cake
We should
you want.
probably do cupcakes, yeah, so we can each have like our own little thing. Because I don't want my cake touching any of your bitches' cakes.
That's true.
Can we do like what they do on those baking shows and make some kind of like coconut rum gelée and put it in the middle of the cupcake?
Gelée. What are you talking about?
Glaze.
I don't know.
filling?
Like,
Is it in the
yeah, they
middle?
always like squirt stuff in the middle.
We should have
like a
our-
custard.
Yeah.
I don't know. They'll just be like, I made a coconut rum reduction.
This is getting complicated. I don't
Okay.
have the time, but if you want to do that, go for it.
I thought cupcakes sounded a little
I know
complicated
that did
for you.
sound. Well,
And if we get cupcakes, then we'll have to get cupcake little thingies.
I think I have some.
liners. Okay.
And cupcakes are actually, I think they're easier to make than a cake.
Okay.
They're
That's fine
easier
with
to
me.
frost at least.
Yeah, and they're easier to make sure that it's cooked all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well,
fun.
stay tuned for our Dolly cupcakes.
Yes, stay tuned
Thank
for
you.
that. And also stay tuned for tomorrow in real life. In real life, we're having Dolly Parton night. In podcast life, as you're hearing this, not you on TikTok, because we are TikTok living this, but when this podcast comes out on streaming the next day is what, Hayley? Do you know?
April Fools are live cocktail hour
Yes.
for our patrons.
Yes. So join us on Patreon for our Zoom cocktail hour tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central.
Not a joke, despite it being April 1st.
We should play a joke, though. Maybe we can think of something to do.
Let's
on
dress
Dolly
up as
Parton
each
night.
other.
And just like come looking normal because we look the same.
I was having one of my TAs read an email chain. You read it. You know the one.
No, I don't. What are you talking about?
It was a school
Oh,
thing.
yes.
And she like accidentally exited out of it, and it was a picture. I have like a widget that just has like throwback pictures, and it was a picture of you and I, and she was like, "You have a sister?" I was like, "No," but everyone thinks that.
Yeah, I still don't see it, but I'm honored.
Yeah, I'm
I'll
honored
take
too.
it.
I think I might go blonde for summer, so hopefully that'll help a little bit.
I was thinking about getting a balayage.
I think you should do it.
I think so, just for summer and then let it grow out. But I'm really considering it. The Paul
Balayage?
Mitchell School does them for $45. So I was like,
I don't know. It's kind of a bad omen after I just talked about Paul Mitchell fucking my shit up.
I know, but if they fuck it up, then I just box dye my hair back to brown. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Do you want to help me bleach my hair at home?
No. Bitch, no. Did you see me try to cut Alex's hair that one time? I can't do hair.
Yeah. That picture actually just came up on my throwback picture widget. You guys out in the yard.
He looked so handsome.
Yeah.
I'll try to
Beauty's in
throw
the
it
eye of
up on the
beholder.
screen here in a minute for the YouTubers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was your classic early pandemic quarantine haircut situation.
It's the ugliest I've ever looked in my life.
It was really bad. He wanted me to shave the sides, and I just did an uneven job. And then his hair was so long on top, and he looked kind of like.
I'd say he resembled a horse. He had a
Yeah,
mane.
he did have a mane. He,
think
for
you did
whatever
it on-
reason, did you ever watch Kim Possible?
Yes.
He looked like the rat.
I love that I got horse
Yes,
and
but
rat
how?
so far.
I don't know. He didn't really, but it just gave me the vibes of
Naked mole rat.
a naked mole rat.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, Alec. It's my fault.
Oh no, it's true. It's deserved.
It was not attractive.
Oh, okay. Well, now that we've gone completely off the chain.
This is what happens when we don't see each other for a week. And then we're finally back in the same room.
I hate it during the week because I'm like, I miss my friend.
Yeah.
But then when we're back together, it's so fun.
I know, it is. And last night, Alec was gone last night, and I was so excited to just have a night by myself. And I kept thinking, like, Hayley's going to come in here and I'm going to have to hang out with her, and I don't want to. I just wanted to be by myself for once.
Yeah, I totally get that.
And then you didn't, and it was fine.
Well, we thought about coming over there last night, but we were both like, screw it. We can just go over tomorrow, like we've been saying for the past week.
Yeah.
I love nights to myself. It's just so like the way it recharges me is unlike anything else.
Same. And like I only need one like every few months.
Yeah.
But like it felt like really good. I haven't been by myself in a really long time, so it was nice.
Well, I'm glad you got to treat yourself.
Me too. Are you ready to start?
Yeah, I am. Let's go.
Okay, I blew a .022.
And I blew a .012.
So I get to go first. This is a wild ride, so put on your seatbelt.
Okay.
Maintain eye contact because I'm going to have to like be communicating with you through my eyes, through my brain, through my mouth, because we're going all over the place, and I just need you to stay with me.
You're like making me feel like my body's a wonderland right now.
Well, it is. All right. So for thousands of years, nightshades have been used as a poison to commit murder.
Nightshades?
Nightshades. It's a type of plants. Do you remember when I did my lesson on the Alnwick poison garden?
Yes.
We talked about them a little bit in that lesson. And these plants have been rumored to have killed Roman emperors and even entire armies. Some plants are so potent that a single berry is enough to kill a human. Nightshades, or Silencia, are a family of flowering plants that come in many varieties. So pretty much like they can be flowers, fruit, trees, shrubs. Like it's a wide range.
They really just decided to be who they wanted to be.
They do it all, and they're everywhere. They're on every continent except for Antarctica, but the most of them, the highest variety, is in Central America. And what makes nightshades really unique is that they contain potent alkaloids, making them highly toxic, or at least some of them highly toxic.
Toxic in a bad way.
Is there a good way to be toxic?
Yeah, Britney Spears toxic.
Okay, that's the only exception.
Also, remix alert, the Toxic Pony remix mashup. So good.
Oh.
Yes, very good.
That
could be our
I'm
new
intrigued.
like pump up song.
We need a new pump up song because I love you, Meg, but I'm tired of that song.
Yeah, we've been listening to it for the last year and a half.
Yeah. We've had the same pump up song, you guys, for pretty much this entire podcast.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for a change. I'm down.
Yeah. So anyway, your two favorite things, Toxic and Pony. The two. You'll love the song. I can already tell.
I'm sure I will. So also that's... never mind. So alkaloids are substances that help plants grow and stay alive. So it's like this naturally occurring chemical or whatever chemical compound that the plant makes that helps them. They're often a defense mechanism for the plants because they can have really intense physiological effects on animals and people that eat them. So it keeps them from being eaten. It makes you sick or does other things to you. There are different types of alkaloids. There are like a lot of different types, and they all have different effects. And we're going to go over some of the main types of alkaloids, which are solanine, tropanes, nicotine, and capsaicin. Starting with solanine, solanine is very toxic and it has a bitter taste. It's thought to be a defense mechanism against herbivores. So like I said, keeps animals from eating them.
Mm-hmm. All of those names are beautiful. Is that weird to say? I feel like
I think nicotine is beautiful.
Yeah,
maybe you
I do.
You like name your daughter
die.
Nicotine, not Red.
Nikki for short, nicotine for long.
Nikki, stop. So solanine is found in leaves, fruit, and tubers. In fact, tubers, I think those are like roots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Effects of ingesting solanine include diarrhea, vomiting, abdominal pain, hallucinations, and headaches. So good times. A lethal dose of solanine is about 2 to 5 milligrams per kilogram of body weight.
That means nothing to
So
me.
I did the math to help you because I knew
Thank
it would
you.
mean nothing. And so for someone who weighs 150 pounds, or for our international listeners, that's 68 kilograms. I looked
You're
it up.
so impressed with yourself for literally converting
Literally
something
doing
using
nothing.
Google.
Yeah, I typed things into a Google converter. They would have to eat a minimum of 136 milligrams of solanine for it to be lethal. And that's 0.135 grams, which is a very tiny amount because, as we know, a mouse weighs 100 grams. So, like,
As we know.
less than 1 gram is very small, as we know
So
from
small.
other episodes. Next are tropanes, and the name tropane comes from atropos, which is Greek for fate. They're extremely lethal. Like, these are the deadliest ones. And they've been used as poisons, but I skipped a bullet point. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
They're extremely lethal. They're found in plants like mandrake, stinking nightshade, and devil's snare.
Double snare.
Devil's snare.
But also stinking nightshade.
Stinking.
Is that what you said?
Stinking nightshade.
That's so rude.
Stinking light shade.
They need to put some respect on these names.
It probably does stink, though.
Probably, but you don't say that, right?
Not to her face.
Not to her face, but you do on your podcast.
But she can't hear. She's a plant.
She will get you. I don't think she needs to hear.
Her
if she
friend Devil's
evolved.
Snare is going to come shatter my kneecaps.
Yeah.
He's bad.
He's going to freaking curb stomp the shit out of you.
Sounds like a good way to go.
And then you're going to meet their cousin, Fate, who's also a poison, if you didn't know.
I'll be dead already. I don't care.
She's
Come get me. I'm dead. While they are deadly and have been used as poisons, they are also useful pharmaceuticals in lower doses and are sometimes used to halt allergic reactions. For example, they can reverse, and again, I practice saying this word, cholinergic poisoning. Which is cholinergic, which is caused by overexposure to insecticides or some chemical warfare agents. So if you're poisoned by those things, you can take this medicine and it reverses the effects. It also has an anti-nausea effect. So it's used in drugs for like motion sickness or just general anti-nausea. On the other hand, symptoms of an overdose are dry mouth, dilated pupils, ataxia, urinary retention, hallucinations, convulsions, comas, and death. So nothing good.
bad.
Very
Yeah.
bad. Yeah. Then there's nicotine, which Hayley thinks is beautiful. This is found.
They're all beautiful. They're good names for poisons. Okay, nicotine is the ugliest name out of all of them. Is that what you wanted me to say?
Yes. That's what I needed you to say. They're found in high concentrations in tobacco plants and jewel pods, but small amounts are present in eggplants, tomatoes, potatoes, and peppers.
We got eggplants, potatoes, tomatoes, nicotine.
Jewel pods. The plants produce nicotine because it's an effective neurotoxin and insecticide. So it kills bugs. It keeps them safe from bugs.
And your lung cells.
And it kills your lungs. So, and also, of course, nicotine acts as an addictive agent in mammals, especially humans, as we know. Last is capsaicin, which is found in chilies and habaneros, and that's what gives them their heat. It's not toxic to humans, but it stimulates pain receptors in most mammals, which is why really spicy things hurt.
Yeah, they can. They do for sure.
I like it, though. I like the pain.
The heat. I like the pain. I like it when my eyes burn.
Yeah, it feels so good. I like it when it like hits the back of your throat and like makes you like
You're like, I can't breathe.
breathe. Yeah.
You're like, oh wait, I can. No, I can't.
But
Okay, I'm breathing.
feels so good. This only affects mammals. Birds are not affected by anything spicy, and this is because of an evolutionary adaptation, because the seeds from peppers can pass through the digestive system of a bird unharmed.
Sneaky little bitches.
Sneaky little bitches. So it's actually good for them when birds eat them, because then they poop them out and can distribute viable seeds.
Fertilize.
Yes. And capsaicin, fun fact, is what pepper spray is made from.
Wow. Fun for me, not fun for the victim.
No.
Stay away. Oh my God. Tommy was looking for a pin in my like console of my car, and he's like rumbling around in there like so fast. And he like pulls out the pepper spray I have in my car, and he's like, "What's this?" And like it's just like moving it so fast yesterday. I was like, stop. And nothing happened, but I thought something was going to happen.
That's such a man thing to not even know what a pepper spray looks like.
Yeah, that
Like I've carried pepper spray since I was like 15.
yeah, that's
You have
male
to.
privilege
Yeah,
right there.
Definitely. We're going to shift gears here for a second. In 1979, at an all-boys school in South London, 78 boys suddenly got very sick. Most of the boys suffered from vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. But a few had more severe cases, resulting in the depression of the central nervous system, meaning they were having comas, seizures, hallucinations, and high fever. All the boys ended up recovering, but many suffered symptoms for days. In 1983, a school in Alberta, Canada, went through a very similar event. 61 of the 109 children at the school suddenly became violently ill.
Oh my God, that's so stressful.
Yeah, can you imagine?
If I was the headmaster or whatever,
Yeah.
I'd quit.
And then all the kids suddenly have diarrhea and they're all vomiting, like 61 of them.
Oh yeah,
What the
I would
fuck do you even
immediately.
do?
I'd quit and leave.
Yeah, too
I'd
much.
be like, I don't know what's going on right now, but my fight or flight has kicked in.
Yeah.
I choose flight.
I can't help here. When I see people vomit, I vomit.
I vomit. You vomit. We vomit.
we just all vomit. So they also survived, but they were very lucky to do so. Not everyone does. In 1918, 61 people from 18 separate households suddenly became sick. One 5-year-old boy ended up dying of strangulation of the bowels after intense vomiting.
Oh baby.
I know. In 19...
I'm sorry. I just had finished writing a note of what Hayley had said, and it was all the kids have diarrhea. My fight or flight kicks in, and I was imagining your fight reflex kicks in when you see a bunch of kids with diarrhea, and you're just like, God, beat the shit out of them.
It's a good quality for a preschool teacher.
Yeah, you beat it out of them. That's how it works. That's how you make good kids.
I see kids
She's
with
kidding.
diarrhea,
She's
my
kidding.
fight
Oh,
or
yes,
flight
I'm
kicks in.
Totally kidding. I am avidly against any like spanking, all of that.
Yeah.
Against it.
Definitely. So in 1925, 7 members of a family began suffering from vomiting, extreme exhaustion, and trouble breathing, and 2 of those 7 ended up dying. So what is causing all these illnesses? Do you have any guesses?
Chain reaction. One person throws up, then the person next to them throws up, and it just keeps going and going.
That's
what I think
great
happens.
guess, but can you die from that?
I don't know, Kat. Can you? It's
Probably
your
not.
lesson.
Probably not. So this is a lesson on nightshades. So knowing that, do you want to take a guess?
I want to guess
happening?
that they not congested. They ingested nightshade.
What nightshade?
The stinking nightshade.
No. It's not. So
Sorry, I threw up the shocker symbol.
why?
I don't know.
One in the pink, 2 in the nightshade.
One in the nightshade, one in the light shade.
Oh my god.
And they both stink.
my
They
God.
both stink.
That kills us every time.
Every time.
Every 6 months, we've got to have a good
Shocker
laugh.
joke. Yeah.
New
Oh,
merch.
man.
It's just the shocker. So it's, I don't know why school children would be eating stinking nightshade. It's something that you eat.
The pepper.
No, it was potatoes.
Oh, right. You did say that. Mm-hmm. They do eat potatoes.
They eat potatoes at school. And the one in Canada, it was baked potatoes. And the kids reported that some of the potatoes tasted bitter and had like a green tinge.
Ooh.
Yeah. And 61 of them still decided to eat it. So who's at fault, really?
What year was it?
Like in the 90s, I think.
Oh, okay.
It was
going to
recent.
say they're starving.
No, they weren't starving.
1800s.
So white potatoes, not sweet potatoes though, are members of the nightshade family and contain solanine. Green or sprouted potatoes have higher levels of solanine, making them extremely toxic and sometimes deadly.
How common is it for you to have a bad potato?
It's actually pretty common.
Do they just weed them out?
Yeah. And like now, I think our modern potatoes are screened for high levels of solanine. But if you don't store your potatoes properly, they can start turning green and sprouting, and you should throw them away immediately if that happens.
If they sprout or if they turn green and sprout?
Both.
Oh, okay. So
Either
it's fine
one.
if they sprout.
No.
Oh.
Throw them away.
Well, I'm a survivor.
Right? I had never heard of that potatoes could be poison either. I was like, oh my God, why aren't we warned about this?
They should talk about that more.
But yeah.
Also, that reminds me of another thing. This could save somebody's life. I have seen this hack on Instagram and TikTok about storing your avocados suspended in water in the refrigerator. And you cannot do that, although it will preserve them for like up to a month. There are like toxins released from the skin that goes into the water and like gets back into the avocado, and it's bad. So don't do that.
Okay, good to know. There's not enough room in our fridge anyway to be storing them in avocado. But
my mom literally sent us. She's like, "Look at this hack," and then 2 days later, and she's like, "Don't
look at the hack.
Look away."
So we have potatoes today only because of centuries of selected breeding that makes them edible. Before 1567, potatoes did not exist outside of Central and South America. And for a long time, even though they existed in the wild in those areas, people couldn't eat them because they were so toxic. That's until indigenous people in the Andes started observing animals, and they observed, I'm not even going to try to say these names.
Just say it with confidence. No one will know.
These two animals, which llamas descended from, they saw llamas licking clay before eating the potatoes. And they were like, the animals didn't get poisoned.
How did the llamas figure that out? That's what I want to know.
I don't think of llamas as smart animals, but also horses and like animals will naturally lick clay to get minerals. So they might have just been doing it anyway. Then, I don't know.
Could be natural selection.
Yeah. So
I mean, it is natural selection.
Yeah. And so like people,
evolution might be real.
Yeah. You never know. So
I'll edit that out.
So people observed this and they started making clay dipping sauces for potatoes in order to eat them.
What? Just don't eat the potatoes.
You have to if you're living in the freaking wild.
Okay,
what else are
so
you
now
gonna
they
eat?
are on the verge of starving it.
Maybe. I don't. Yeah, like you gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah. And these indigenous peoples of the Andes have like a long history of eating clay. And some researchers now think that this is because of like trying to eat potatoes. And the reason this works is because your body can't digest clay, so it just kind of like expels it really quickly. And when you eat it with the potato, it mixes with the clay, and then like you flush the potato out really quickly before your body has a chance to absorb the toxins into your bloodstream.
Can it absorb anything good from it, or are you just like putting a space saver in your stomach till you pick it out?
I assume you were able to get some calories from it if they continued to do it, but maybe it was just something to fill your stomach. I don't know.
Chipotle actually puts clay in all of their food.
Shut up, Alex.
Don't say that about Chipotle.
Just goes right through.
Chipotle's lawyers are on the phone right now.
I support Chipotle.
Me too. It gives me diarrhea every time, but I will continue to eat it until the day I die.
It doesn't. It's 50-50 with me,
Okay.
and I stand by them.
Sometimes it gives me It sends me to the bathroom immediately. And sometimes
now you say sends me to the bathroom. You already aired it out. You might as well just.
And sometimes it makes me shit myself the next morning.
We call that the now and later.
Yeah. It really depends. I prefer the day of because then I'm expecting it instead of getting to work and then suddenly I'm about to.
Yeah, then you have to, it's a whole thing because if you don't have someone else in the classroom with you, then you have to get someone else and there's no time.
It's a real problem.
Yeah.
Andean people also started drying potatoes, which one makes them last longer, but it also gets rid of some of the poison. So that helped too. And later they selectively bred them to make them more edible. Pretty much every village domesticated their own potato independently, suited for their own needs and tastes. So there's all these, different potatoes in the area. And many of these varieties are still cultivated today, but they usually don't leave the Andes region.
They're like, would you like it with or without nightshade?
With or without being dipped in dirt. The modern potatoes we have in the rest of the world come from a cross between Andean and Chilean potato ancestors. And of course, just because these potatoes have been selectively bred to make them less poisonous does not mean they are not poisonous, which we found out earlier in this lesson.
How the hell did Idaho get all the potatoes?
Stole them. That's a good question because the climate of Idaho is not similar to that of Central America. I don't know. I guess they can just grow anywhere.
I guess so.
So there have been many cases of solanine poisoning caused by green potatoes recorded in medical journals. I already read a few of those to you. And solanine poisoning is, of course, most common in times of extreme food shortage. During war times in Korea from 1952 to 1953, many people had to resort to eating rotten potatoes. And in just one area alone, 382 people were poisoned and 22 died.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. The more severe cases died of heart failure within just 24 hours of eating the potatoes.
Just for eating potatoes.
Yeah. And most of the time, solanine poisoning from potatoes is very rare. The best way to prevent it is by keeping your potatoes in a cool, dark place and remove their skin. You shouldn't eat potato skin. And if they're green or sprouted, throw them away.
I'm a survivor.
I stand by that because I don't like potato skin and I don't understand why I'm forced to eat it.
I typically will take it off, but if it's something where it's like you do the wedges and I'm like just don't want to do it that day.
Yeah. I leave it on sweet potatoes, but for like big potato or like I leave it on like the small potatoes, but like the skin I don't like is like on the big brown potatoes, like the Idaho
it's kind
potatoes.
of rough.
It's really thick and leathery. Like when you eat a baked potato with the skin on it, it's like ugh.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I lost my train of thought, so keep moving.
My mom used to make baked potatoes when I was a kid and she'd make me eat the skin. And it would make me want to vomit because when your teeth bite into it, it feels like you're eating leather.
My
gives
parents
me the willies.
would make me eat like everything on my plate. And my brother and I, whoever it was that night, because it was always one of us, would end up sitting at the table. Like, I can't tell you how many times we sat there. Dinner started at 6. We were there till like 8 p.m. because we wouldn't finish our food.
My mom usually, it was like, you can leave the table, but I'm putting your food in a Tupperware. And next time you're hungry, be that later tonight or for breakfast tomorrow morning, you're eating this food. God damn it.
Did she do it?
Yeah, she did it all the time. And my brother one time, my mom used to make this lentil soup like pretty regularly and I liked it. I didn't have a problem with it. But my brother, Foster, always hated it. He hated this soup.
It doesn't sound too good.
It's fine. Like, it wasn't the best thing ever, but like it was
to have all the
pretty
time.
good. And we'd had it like maybe like once a week when she was like going hard in the paint for that lentil soup. And one time he was eating it and he was telling my mom, he's like, I can't eat this. Like, I don't feel good. I don't like it. And he ate the last bite out of his bowl and put it in his mouth. And then vomited it back into the bowl he was eating out of. And it's fucking soup. So it came out looking the exact same as it went going in. And he just vomited it straight back into the bowl. And then she made him eat it. Just kidding. No, she didn't. That'd be horrible.
Oh my God, Kat. You're a psychopath.
That's what I would have done. Just kidding. No, I wouldn't. That's child abuse. But yeah, it was the most tragic thing. And then she never forced him to eat that soup again because she's like, okay, I understand. Like, it actually makes you sick.
After seeing it regurgitated and it looks exactly the same, I wouldn't even want to eat it as your mom.
I think that stopped the lentil soup craze for a little while.
Oh my God. That's a really good way to boycott the food you don't like as a kid.
Just throw it up.
Throw it up.
But yeah, that was probably the best moment of my life. And when you're a kid, you like love to see your sibling in pain.
Yes.
So it's like, this
Very
is the
much.
best thing ever. I'm sorry, Foster. Now I want to talk about another nightshade.
Tell me about it.
Tomatoes. So I call this lesson tomato, tomato, potato, potato.
I would too. I don't blame you.
You love it.
I kind of do, actually.
Tomatoes are a flowering, fruit-bearing plant and part of the nightshade family.
I thought you were going to say, I call this lesson potato, tomato.
Potato, tomato, potato, tomato.
Oh, okay.
A little
that
remix.
one might be better. Yeah.
Wild potatoes originated in the Andes Mountains of South America, mostly in Peru and Ecuador. They were most likely domesticated in pre-Columbian Mexico around 500 BC by the Aztecs. And early tomatoes are not like the ones we have today. They had much higher levels of solanines and were sometimes used as food and sometimes used as a hallucinogenic. So they were multi-purpose.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. No
Sounds
big deal.
Fun, no big deal. The plant was not introduced to Europe until Hernan Cortez came in and like started fucking up the indigenous people. Fuck that guy. But he ended up bringing the seeds to Spain in the early 16th century. By the 17th century, the tomato was being cultivated as food in Spain, Italy, and the Mediterranean, but other Europeans, mostly the English, and American colonists were skeptical of this exotic fruit.
I love the eye roll. You all know what I'm talking about. You're listening. You can't even see Kat right now. And you know when she did the eye roll.
I did the eye roll because I feel like that's so typical of the English and Americans to be like, the tomato is too flavorful for us. I don't trust it.
It came from also Central America, which probably had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, we're scared of tomatoes. Because of tomatoes' classification as a nightshade and its rumored hallucinogenic properties, which by this time I don't think it was caused hallucinations anymore, but like they'd heard stories about it, Europeans called it the poison apple and were very wary of it.
That's so funny because I've never heard any of this,
right?
You know, and that's something like they just had so much time. I feel like
it gets bonkers, Hayley. Like the reason I did this lesson is because of reading all these bonkers stories about tomatoes.
Okay,
people were genuinely terrified of them.
Wow. I mean, I really didn't like tomatoes for a long time until like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just in me.
I would never eat a tomato plain, but I do like them on things.
Yes, I agree. I have had, like the little cherry tomatoes. If
those are good.
If it came down to it, I would pop one of those in my mouth. But yeah, I definitely prefer it on like a burger or a salad.
Yeah.
Or my burrito from Chipotle.
In a salsa, in a pasta sauce.
All of it.
Give me that.
All of it.
It was considered an ornamental plant to be used as decoration, but unhealthy and even deadly to eat. So people in Northern Europe did grow tomatoes, but they were for decoration. You would pick them and then put them in like a bowl as a centerpiece, but do not eat them.
Yeah, just like the kids of the times. They were meant to be seen and not tasted or heard.
Definitely don't taste them. And people did die from eating tomatoes, but not for the reason they thought. Europeans used pewter plates, which have a high lead content. And tomatoes, which are high in acidity, would leach the lead out of the plate and absorb it. So when you ate tomatoes, you would get lead poisoning and oftentimes die.
Yeah, no wonder they were afraid of them. That just reinforces it all.
Definitely. And so people were quick to blame the tomato because they didn't know about the lead.
Do you think if a time traveler went back to when they used lead for everything, like literally up until the, 60s or 70s? 70s.
we still have fucking lead pipes.
If we told them like, this is bad, you can't do this, do you think that they would be like, no, that's fake news?
Probably, but also they did know lead was poison. Because remember, like my lesson on cosmetics, they were like smearing it on their faces and getting like lesions on their skin and blisters, and they still did it anyway. People have always been stupid.
There has to be a disconnect. Like, there has to be another reason. Like, maybe they were blaming it on something else.
Yeah.
Because to me, that is just beyond the stupidity we know that people have to know that lead causes all of these issues and death.
I think, like,
using it
might have just been, like, marketing. Like, it was a cheap thing to
if your marketing's
produce.
good enough.
Yeah, and, like, you read the bottle, it says it's going to give you, like, clear skin, so you just put it on your face and then you're breaking out and you're like, oh, I'm detoxing. Like, I don't know.
Detoxing. And then you're dead, and no skin is technically clear skin.
Yeah, it technically does stop the aging process when it makes you die.
Oh yeah, we need to make our own little like night classy marketing stickers for things like lead and like make it very satirical.
That would be fun.
That would be fun.
So people didn't trust the tomato, but slowly as people realized Italian food is delicious, tomatoes, or love apples, as they were called by the French, rose in popularity. But the English and Americans were still wary. They were the holdouts. Fed up with all this tomato slander, a Salem, Massachusetts man named Robert Gibbon Johnson decided to take matters into his own hands. He announced to the townspeople that he was ready to prove once and for all that tomatoes are not poison. On June 28th, 1820, he stood on the steps of the county courthouse before a crowd of 2,000 people.
What? 2,000 people?
2,000 people. That's how scared people were of tomatoes. They're like, we got to see this. This is crazy.
I didn't even know there would be that many people in the same place back then.
Yeah. I mean, Salem was like a big city back then compared to everywhere else.
Yeah. So I guess so.
There was a lot of people. So he stood on these steps in front of a crowd with a bucket of tomatoes and a doctor on standby just in case. With much suspense, he picked up a tomato from his bucket and ate the whole thing. How he did that without vomiting, I will never know.
He's a witch.
That's disgusting. He's a witch.
Obviously.
The crowd watched with bated breath as Gibson didn't become ill. Instead, he ate another tomato and then another and another until he had eaten all the tomatoes in his bucket.
How in the hell did this man do that? He must have really wanted to prove his point.
He must have loved tomatoes. In the end, he suffered no ill effects and had proven before witnesses that tomatoes are harmless. People seemed to catch on at first, and potatoes began commonly being cultivated in North America by the 1830s. But soon, something else happened. The crops were attacked by horned green tomato worms.
Ew.
This launched a...
I don't even know what that is. I just know it sounds
They're
gross.
exactly what they sound like. They are gross. And it launched a mass hysteria. Newspapers reported that these worms were so poisonous that just them crawling on the tomatoes was enough to make them lethal to eat.
Is that true?
A New York man named Dr. Fuller told the newspaper he found a 5-inch long tomato worm in his garden. He said it was as poisonous as a rattlesnake and would throw spittle at its prey. Like it would like spit at them.
That's like the most disrespectful thing you can do, I feel like.
Or was known for being respectful.
I have met some very respectful worms in my life.
Really?
Yes,
Like
I have.
who?
Like earthworms. There were tons of them. They don't bite.
That's true.
They don't poop on me. Actually, they have
They
done
do
that.
poop.
Well, I said on me.
Oh, well, if you don't touch them, they can't poop on you.
That's fair.
I don't usually touch earthworms.
Oh my gosh, I was so into earthworms as a kid.
Oh, me too. And now I look at them and I'm like, how did I used to just pick those things up? Because
I'd still do it, no problem. There was this massive, like this thick ass. It was like an inch or a half inch thick And it was like over a foot long. This thing was literally massive.
Haley, that's a snake.
It
You
was
saw
not-
a snake.
No, it was not a snake. I touched it. When I was a kid, and we were all the neighborhood kids were like, like screaming, freaking out. And it was like, I felt like I was in SpongeBob when the Alaskan bullworm comes to town, because we just watched it as it was like lugging itself along. Like it must have
my
tapped into
God.
some freaking like steroids or something, because
It was like
that
a
mofo
super worm.
was huge. It was a super worm.
What
I'm
if
gonna
it
look-
was like a Russian nesting doll of worms and there was just like smaller and smaller and smaller worms inside?
They would like it even more. I remember it so clearly. It was in my yard. A bunch of the neighborhood kids came over when me and my friends were like, like screaming. And
Are you looking at biggest earthworm right now?
Yeah, I am. I'm
Okay,
looking at
good.
massive earthworm.
While you do that, if you were unlucky enough to be spit on by this worm, your skin would swell up immediately, and a few hours later you would seize up and die. He called this worm, quote, a new enemy to human existence.
Yeah, that sounds like it would definitely be an enemy to human existence. Also, I found it. It's called a giant Gippsland worm. And mine was not as big as these other
Let
ones.
me see it. Turn your computer around.
Okay. Here.
Careful,
There's
don't
a
knock down
few.
your drink. Oh God. Turn it around. I don't want to see it anymore. It looks like a snake.
Yeah, it does.
Ew.
I'm guessing that's what it is, because I mean, like, this thing was huge.
That is awful. But back to my lesson. These worms in reality were completely harmless. They were just caterpillars. But, but because of tomatoes' reputation, people massively overreacted.
Some caterpillars are nasty, though.
Yeah, and that's what they look like. They were like especially nasty caterpillars. They do have like a horn and they're fat and green, but they're harmless. And eventually people realized this, and the tomatoes' reputation began to get better. People became less fearful. And then around 1880, something was invented. Do you know what?
1880, something was invented. Pesticide?
No. Pizza.
Oh,
Pizza was invented in Naples, and bitches love pizza.
Yeah, we do. We do. It's true.
And this invention skyrocketed tomatoes' popularity in Europe and then the United States.
Naples. I thought pizza was invented in the United States.
No, it's Italian.
I thought it was one of those things. It's like we thought it was Italian, but it's
No, I think it really is Italian, but it's like late. It's not like it's an ancient Italian food. It was invented in the late 1800s.
okay.
And then in 1897, a man by the name of Joseph Campbell, ever heard of him?
From Campbell's soup?
Yes, invented canned condensed tomatoes soup. And we've loved tomatoes ever since.
Wow, what a turn this took.
I know. It was a wild ride, but we got here and the end.
I'm so glad I like tomatoes now.
Yeah.
That was a wild ride.
Yeah. I wanted to do this lesson because of all the cool stuff about tomatoes, but then it wasn't long enough. So I started researching
Gotta
other
zhuzh
stuff.
it up.
Yeah, zhuzh it up. So
like you do.
I did. And so it's like really, it's a lesson on nightshades, but really it's a lesson on tomatoes.
We know what the lesson is on.
Yes.
Don't worry.
My sources are Britannica.com, VegetableFacts.net, Insider.com, The Fascinating Origins of 14 Popular Vegetables by Janaki Zitshovitsat, SmithsonianMag.com article called Why the Tomato Was Feared in Europe for More Than 200 Years by K. Annabelle Smith, another Smithsonian Mag, also by K. Annabelle Smith. This one's called The Horrific Tales of Potatoes That Cause Massive Sickness and Even Death. And the Solancia Wikipedia page, history101.com, npr.org, and Mental Floss. That's my
Thank
lesson.
you for that.
Thank you for listening. We're going to take a quick break-a-rooney. We'll be right back. Bye.
I thought about saying something, but then I was like, do I need to say something? You're not saying anything. You need to say something if you're going to say something.
What do you want to say?
Nothing. I just,
Okay.
I need to go use the restroom. So
All right.
I'm going to go do that.
Okay, have fun. I don't need to. I'll be here. Bye. So I recently did a visioning exercise, not activity. I guess it's also an activity. But in this visioning exercise, I was supposed to visualize something I would spend my money on to make my life better. And something I've always wanted to do but never tried is therapy. And I know therapy is important because without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help, or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop feeling ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. That is a huge perk for introverts like me. It is much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It is always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And special offer to Night Classy listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/classy. That's betterhelp.com/classy. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. And remember, when you support our sponsors, you are supporting us. Again, thank you to BetterHelp, and use that promo code CLASSY to get yourself some BetterHelp and get us some BetterHelp, if you know what I mean. Thanks.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that ad break.
I hope you enjoyed it too. I put my heart and soul into that ad.
It was funny. I laughed.
Good.
At the parts that you're supposed to laugh at.
Use our promo code.
Classy.
Classy.
Okay, well, anyway, I would like to start my learning journey today with some trivia.
Oh, God.
I have some slides to go along with it. This lesson was recommended or requested, I guess, if you will, by one of our Instagram followers sometime last year. I went back in my screenshots. I don't know.
Oh.
Because I went back in my screenshots and just screenshotted everyone's responses to you being like, what should we cover?
Maybe I'll know who it was.
Maybe you will. But we're going to start with trivia and then go into the learning journey. Trivia question number 1 is on slide 2. True or false? Vikings wore helmets with horns on them.
False. Saw that on a
job.
BuzzFeed list.
Recently?
Yes.
Wow, look at you. Yes, that is false. Nothing from the Viking age actually shows them wearing horned helmets, and the only authentic Viking helmet that's ever been found doesn't have horns. Historians think that painters from the 19th century just added some horns.
Added
they were
some
just
spice.
feeling a little spicy, feeling a little horny,
Oh,
if you will.
Horniness. I'll make that a drop.
Yeah,
Why
I really
isn't
do
it a
need
drop
to.
yet?
And they think that these horny painters were possibly inspired by depictions of some Northern Europeans that were depicted by ancient Greeks and Romans. So they did not have horns on their helmets.
Missed opportunity.
I know. You should definitely, if you choose between horn or no horn, go with a
Always
horn.
go horn.
Every time. At least one horn. Have a little unihorn. What's the difference between a unicorn and a unicorn? That's what I want to know.
No difference. I recently started making comments on Reddit because I was like, this is a way to help my social anxiety, because I always want to make comments on Reddit, but then I'm scared to, which I don't know why I would be scared because of my I'm freaking anonymous on Reddit, so who cares? But I made a comment the other day on someone had bought this stained glass of a unicorn, but this unicorn, its horn was a giant brown oval, and it looked like a freaking poop. It was a poop. So I commented, I'm like, I love it, but that horn is a poop. And I got a lot of upvotes.
Yes, be yourself.
Yes.
I love that for you. Has
Thank
been
you.
helping with your social anxiety?
Probably not, but I have been getting a lot of upvotes, so that's good validation that I am funny.
Well, and that doesn't help. You're just like, it's
Maybe it
still
does
bad,
help.
but it's better.
I mean, I haven't had much opportunity to test it because when I say lately, I mean, I pretty much mean today.
Well, I'd upvote you every time.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Question number 2. Which historical period is typically referred to as the Viking Age? A, around 100 to 700 CE, B, around 800 to 1100 CE, or C, around 1200 to 1500 CE?
I'm going to go with C.
You suck. There's your social anxiety kicker for you.
We passed a billboard today that was like one of those billboards that's sponsored by the city of Memphis, and it said soul, and Alec goes, does that say suck? Like, why would it say suck?
Because some other freaking like Oxford, Mississippi bought a billboard in Memphis and is trying to get everyone to move to Mississippi.
There you go.
That's why it would say suck.
I always hear and see the wrong things. Like last night we were watching Dr. Pol and there was a little sheep on the screen and they were talking about it. And I was like, oh, Kat, that's so cute. They named that little sheep Clam. And she goes, Alec, they were calling it lamb.
That's like the auditory
Yeah, the
processing,
processing
though, that
disorder.
will get you. Yep, yeah. I know that all too well.
I love that. I thought its name was Clam.
Clam is a really good name for a sheep.
Cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's freaking cute.
Or chowder for clam chowder because it's white. That would be cute.
But you shouldn't name the sheep chowder. You should
Why?
name a clam chowder.
How many clams have you named?
None, but I know when the when the opportunity comes, I'm naming that bitch chowder.
I feel like naming a clam chowder is kind of fucked up. It's like naming a fish sushi.
What? Why is that fucked up?
Because
That's
what if I
is.
named you human meat? It implied I was going to eat you.
Well, you don't eat humans.
But you do eat clams, and so naming it chowder is fucked
Maybe
up.
I'm not going to name my clam.
It's like
It's punny.
you do have a clam. Should you name it?
I have a clam?
Yes.
What do you know about my clam?
I don't know anything about your clam, but I know you have one.
I have a clam. We're talking like innuendo here now.
Yeah.
Okay. That clam has a name and it's not chowder.
Oh, do I want to know its name?
I don't know if that's, I mean, I guess I've already said that it has a name on this podcast.
What's its name?
It's either, I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've referenced it. I'm pretty sure it's Vanessa.
Oh, God. That's the worst
It's
possible
either
name
Vanessa
for a clam.
or Veronica because it starts with
Okay.
a V.
Vanessa's
remember.
better than Veronica.
Yeah, I think
Veronica-
it's more Vanessa's. word.
Yeah. Vanessa sounds cuter.
Yeah,
For
Veronica's
sure.
like mean. Like
Yeah, it's
she'll
like the
cut
bratty
you.
sister.
Yeah. Does your clam have a name?
No, I don't name my
and
clam.
you wouldn't name it chowder if you
God.
had a clam.
I
that
would
was
not name it chowder. That's probably the last thing I would name it. It's like naming it like fish market.
I can't believe we're talking about this right now. Oh, okay. Anyway, question number 3. Which of the following European cities was founded by the Vikings? Southampton, England, Belfast, North Ireland, or Dublin, Ireland?
I'm gonna go C, Dublin.
You're correct.
Woo! I knew if I just kept guessing C, I'd eventually get one right.
Oh my goodness. Well, I wonder if the other ones, we'll have to just find out because I don't remember. But it is Dublin and we'll get to it. Question number 4. Vikings preferred which hair color? Blonde, red, or brown?
I'm gonna go red.
They preferred blondes. And a quote from Jenny Cohen, one of the people who knows a lot of things about Vikings, quote, to conform to their culture's beauty ideals, brunette Vikings, usually men, would use strong soap with high lye content to bleach their hair. In some regions, beards were lightened as well.
They were putting in that sun in.
They knew blondes had more fun. And Vikings were having the most fun when they weren't dying and disease riddled.
I used to spray my hair with lemon juice and then sit out in the sun hoping it would lighten it.
Does that work?
It does, but it does not turn your hair blonde. It just gives it like brassy red highlights. So I was
brings
looking
out
cute.
the red. Yeah. Love that for you. Okay, our last question. The richest nobles in the Viking Age were buried in what? Gold armors, long ships, or marble coffins?
Didn't they send them out and light them on fire on the sea? So
Final
long
answer.
ships, put them in a long ship, light it on fire.
Yes, that is correct. I feel like that's how Vikings are portrayed in media. That's not how every funeral was. And I'll just go right into the funerals because, okay, first of all, in doing this research, there's so much that we know about Vikings, but there's so much that we're like, well, we don't know if that's actually true or not.
Yeah, because did they write?
No.
Yeah, so
they did write, but they didn't write about themselves.
Okay.
It was like they would make receipts for things. Like one of their tablets had like runes on it, and the guy it was basically like, I traded 3 sheep for this or that. Like
for 6 clams. And I named the sheep Chowder and the clams Clam.
They're just all chowder. It's all chowder. So we can guess about things, and there are people who have written things about the Vikings, but it was like hundreds of years after the Viking Age ended. So that's where I've come into this conundrum about this learning journey where I'm like, what is the truth?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who am I?
Yeah, you're not a Viking historian.
I'm not. So if you're listening right now and you know everything there is to know about Vikings.
Some people go hard for Vikings.
Yeah, they really do, especially with all the Marvel stuff and Thor and things. Do not come for me. This is a crash course. There are so many different varying, I feel like, biases, especially when we're talking about Viking history. Like some people are like, they just like raped and pillaged and like went hard and they were just like in it for the bloodshed. But then there are other sources that are like, they weren't just in it for the bloodshed. This is why they did it. Blah, blah, blah. Like all this stuff.
They're the Ironborn of the Iron Islands.
I have
Theon
no
Greyjoy.
idea what you're talking about.
Game of Thrones.
I need to actually sit down and finish that freaking show.
Yeah, you do.
So as we go forward here, if you know a lot about Vikings, just come teach me. But this is what I've got, okay? So let's start with the funerals. It's hard to say what the exact rituals of these Viking funerals were, but we have some ideas based on these written accounts and a lot of archaeological remains that they've now found. Most Vikings were sent on to the next realm via cremation or burial. The tropes of those flaming boats sent off into the ocean originates from Norse mythology, but it was not a common practice. Surely not every Norseman was sent off that way. It was only for like high-ranking Vikings. And what was more common than them even sending these boats aflame off to sea was to put the deceased in their boat with their belongings. They would do also sometimes human sacrifices or pet sacrifices.
No.
And put everything in there. And then they would light it on fire and just burn everything while it was still on land. Or they would create a mound around the ship and just cover it, bury the ship.
What?
In dirt. Yes, on land. So it was pretty rare.
They didn't dig a hole. They just
I'm sure they dug a hole a little bit so that the ship stayed. But yeah, they created these mounds.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Now that I think about burial mounds, that is a thing. I was imagining them basically like sprinkling just enough sand on it to cover it and then immediately blowing away.
Yeah, you're like walking home one night. It's really late. You're super drunk and you're like, is that a ship? Oh no, it's just dirt shaped like a ship. Silly me.
You're like, I'm going to go sit on that sand dune, and then it blows away and you're just on top of like dead pets.
Yeah, there was that for sure. Thankfully, though, that wasn't how it was all the time. It seems like they did a lot of, what's it called? How do you pronounce it? Pyres? Pyre?
Pyres, yeah.
Yeah. So cremation, and what was, I think, the most common, or at least more common than anything, was the mounds, where they dressed the deceased in their most expensive, luxurious clothing and buried them that way. And in most cases, I already said that part. Okay. One more fun fact before I get into the meat and potatoes of this all that I was surprised by based off of what I thought I knew about Vikings was that Viking men, and I'm sure women too, but we have proof of men practicing excellent hygiene.
Oh, wow.
Excavations of Viking sites have turned up tweezers, razors, combs, and ear cleaners, all made from animal bones and antlers.
Wow.
They're also known to have bathed at least once a week, which was much more frequent than any other European at the time. And like anyone would, they thoroughly enjoyed taking a dip in the hot springs.
Definitely. I want to go to a hot springs.
I do too. We have some near us.
Yeah.
I mean, like a couple hours away.
Need to fucking go.
Let's fucking go. Okay, like I said before, we know quite a bit, but almost too much, but almost not enough about Vikings. I just don't understand it. It makes my brain hurt. So as you go with me on this learny journey, hopefully it's not making your brain hurt too. This is what I've got from the sources that I've explored. And there's so much out there, but like I said, it's like one person saying this thing, the other person saying something completely different. Mm-hmm. But the Vikings, they were people from Scandinavia, modern day Norway and Denmark, who sailed the ocean blue, the North Atlantic and the Baltic regions. And they very briefly did pop over to North America. It is believed that the Vikings were the first European people to step foot on North America. Leif Erikson is thought to be the first one around 1000 CE. And of course, they're known for raiding, trading, and spreading their influence. Vikings lived by bravery, honor, and courage. Those were their main pillars of everything they did. But not everyone from Northern Europe, of course, was a Viking. The word Viking is defined as either a raider or a pirate. But only a few people from the Viking population participated in the raiding, most of them being men. And when they weren't raiding villages, they had these whole other lives where they resided. They were working the land. They were definitely ready to raid towns and villages when the time was right, but they were mostly focused on raising their livestock and farming, like everyone else was at the time.
And were they nomadic, or did they like stay in these villages?
They stayed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Young men were the ones doing the raiding. They were considered like the actual Vikings of these groups. And older men were expected to stay behind to take care of their families. So it was just a bunch of young chaps out there ready to go.
Party.
The Viking social structure consisted of 3 main classes, which I didn't know that. I really thought that they were nomadic and that everyone was just doing their part to make sure the Vikings were good. You know?
Yeah, I don't know what I pictured.
I know. I get that too. So the earls were at the top of the food chain, and they were the leaders of the people. They had a lot of money. They were typically the ones who were leading the wars. They had a lot of loyal warrior followers. And when eventually the kings rose to power, the earls became the aristocrats, and they held land under the kings. And that is something that happens later on, is this imbalance of power and wealth within the Viking community that kind of contributes to their downfall. The majority of the population were free men and women who worked as farmers. Others worked as craftsmen, merchants, and soldiers. Some owned land, some didn't, but they all enjoyed the protection of the law, unlike the people that the Vikings enslaved. So the Viking soldiers were the youngest men in the community, and they were generally unmarried. They didn't have a care in the world, and they also did not have money.
They didn't give a fuck.
They did not. They truly did not. And we can see that based off of how they're depicted in movies to this day and their reputation in general. The third social class in Viking society were the people that they enslaved. The Vikings used them for farm work or they sold them, and there were 3 ways that people became enslaved in the Viking age. First, you were born into slavery. Second, you were captured in war. If you were captured in war, the way the Vikings saw it was that your life had been spared. You had been given the greatest gift, the second chance at life. So in order to pay your debt of them saving your life, you give them your freedom and work for them for the rest of your life.
Good times.
Good times. The Vikings were great.
Worth it. Just kidding.
The third way was you went bankrupt. If you were free, but you were really poor, you could give up your freedom to have your basic needs and material needs met by a very wealthy person who you worked for the rest of your life.
Also a good deal. I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like modern day capitalism.
Right. Working for $7 an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Same.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So it's all not great, but again, this is something that I definitely learned about. I didn't know that the Vikings enslaved people.
Yeah.
I thought that they were just all having a great time raiding and moving on.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I realized they like kept slaves. I assumed they would like sell captives as slaves, but I don't think I ever knew that they had permanent villages on land.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that they ended up wanting more of, was the land, some place to like have their own of and to be able to farm it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a day in the life during the Viking Age. Most people were these farmers, and the work was divided, obviously, by gender. Women did all of the work inside of the house, while the men did all of the work outside of the house.
Yes.
That made sense, right?
Yes,
I didn't say outside.
No, outside, inside.
Women are in the kitchen, men are in the fields. The main tasks for women were making clothes and making food. And the way I feel like Vikings are depicted is wearing, and anyone really from that era of time, just wearing really drab clothing in like neutral colors that just shows like, I guess, how miserable life could have been.
Yeah, like a peasant clothes.
But the Vikings actually really loved color. They were no stranger to fine fabrics like satin, and they were known to wear deep reds and blues and things like that. So the way that they're depicted is surely not completely accurate all the time. And the main task for the men was working the land, fertilizing, harvesting, sowing, threshing, Amish paradise type shit, okay? The fields were fertilized using crop rotation and using human and animal poop.
All right.
It's everyone's favorite job, pooping the land.
Yeah, what if that's like what they had their enslaved people do? Just like go around like pooping.
Just pop a squat. Well, the enslaved people were the ones who were performing the most unpleasant task. And life was tough. They always had this looming fear of famine and raids and natural disasters. And they definitely took their toll on the Vikings. But one thing that the Vikings excelled at was being seamen.
Spreading their semen.
Spread the sea. The men
to
are
all
coming.
the clams in the land.
Oh no, not Veronica though. Before the 8th century, the Scandinavians only built rowing ships. So not like I pictured with the big sails and everything, even though at that time they had the technology to build the sails, but they just didn't. I don't know why.
Got to show off how strong you are. You can row your ship.
But they're literally not doing as good as everyone else. It doesn't make sense. I guess they did it so that everyone else could have sails, and then they would be like, why don't you guys have sails? And then they get sails and everything pops off.
Yeah, they need to distinguish themselves.
Oh,
we are different.
We don't need your sails.
We're not like
We've got
other
our
Vikings.
arms.
Yeah.
So they did end up making ships with sails. This is when the Viking Age really started roaring. Their ships were fast, they were light, it made them easy to carry, and they could cross the Atlantic without a compass, without the triangular sails. They loved to show up unexpectedly for their raids and just shock these coastal towns. And it allowed them to arrive and get away quickly before any real military or defense could be brought in. So they're like, boom, boom, in, out, hit it, quit it, I'm out. That was it. The Vikings were strong warriors, but their thirst for blood, as they're portrayed in modern times, is probably exaggerated. The ones writing the history were the victims of the Viking raids, so we have to keep that in mind. And the Viking raids were not just for fun. Their raids were for the booty, okay? And by booty, I mean money.
And probably booty. Booty. Rocking everywhere.
Non-consensual booty. They did that. That they were trading for goods, and eventually they were in search of land to settle. An important distinction to make. Vikings, by their honor, they could raid the lands, but they could not steal. Stealing is dishonorable, and there's more glory in winning a fight.
Then why are they raiding? What do they get from it?
Well, they have to beat them first, and then they could take them for all they have.
Okay.
Yeah, they couldn't just go in and take the stuff.
I would rather have my stuff stolen than first be killed and then have it stolen.
Well, they tried that one time. One of the Norse sagas from 1240 CE tells a tale of Vikings who were raiding a town, but then they got captured. They got. They were able to escape, though, in the middle of the night, and they decided to take some of their captors' money and all the shit that they wanted while they're sleeping. And as they're like sailing home, they're like, I don't feel right about this. They started to feel uneasy about the whole thing. So the Vikings decided that they had unfairly stolen the goods from their captors. So they went back. They turned that ship around. And they went back to the land and killed everyone in it.
What a strange moral code that is.
I know. It's just a complete justification to what you want to do.
Yeah, like quote unquote fairly getting it means
I'm sure they would much rather live and you take all of their stuff than you come back and assert that type of dominance over them.
Maybe in their minds, like they're like, if it was reversed, like you want a chance to fight.
Yeah, probably so. That saga was a fictional tale, but pretty much everything we know about the Vikings that isn't archaeological is from these sagas, and they're thought to be based on true beliefs or inspired by reality. These sagas are very specific to the Vikings. They're long narrative epics written in Old Norse from the 13th century or later. Which, like I said before, means that anyone who wrote about these Vikings and these sagas didn't know about the Vikings unless it was passed down from like oral history or reputation through time. And for a long time, the sagas were taken to be historical, accurate documents. They give details about Viking travels and adventures in the 10th and 11th centuries. Now, obviously, most historians are like, okay, that's fiction, but they at least give us some good details. They may not be completely accurate, but some details about life in the Viking Age. Fun fact, the sagas were written in Icelandic, so modern people in Iceland can easily read them.
I love Icelandic language.
I don't know anything about it.
Have you heard it?
I'm sure I have, but I can't I can't hear it in my ear.
It sounds wild, and all their words look wild. Like I can't pronounce any of it.
That checks out because to me, Icelandic, I almost called it Icelandia. I kind of like that better than Iceland. Icelandia is so posh, almost.
Yeah. It's got like an air of like mystique around it. Like they're kind of just like doing their own thing. Like they don't give a fuck about anyone else. They're just like
what are you?
Yeah.
I love it. But what?
They're like physically above everyone, like all the way up north, and like nobody talks to them. Like they're like the Cullens. They're at their lunch table. They're cold. They're not interacting. Yeah.
Everyone wants to be them, but you can't even talk to them because they don't want to talk to you.
And you can't understand them. They sound weird.
Do we have any listeners in Iceland, also known as Icelandia? Shout us out.
Let us know.
No, they definitely don't listen to this chaos. Okay, so with everything in the written history, we have to be really careful about not taking things at face value, obviously. And I stated at the top of the episode when you asked, the Vikings did not maintain written records of their own history and culture. They were literate, but they didn't do that. So most of what was written about the Vikings was written in the 13th century. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Did I copy and paste my notes? Okay. I've just read it so many times today. Most of what was written about the Vikings was written in the 13th century, after the Viking Age, by authors who wanted to make the Vikings seem as different from them as possible and highlight how civilizing Christianity was for people. Most people describing and writing about the Vikings were Christians, and they described Vikings as being pagan. They could only really describe religions in terms of what they knew, and it was basically like Christianity or paganism, and there was no gray area. Now, from what I understand, Vikings were not pagan. Connecting the pagan Greco-Roman religion to the Viking religion is just how the Christians imagined their religion to be. So they're like, we know about paganism, so let's just put the Vikings in this box.
Isn't paganism just like any like polytheistic like European religion?
Yes, I think you're right. I think I left out the part. I'm not sure. I'd have to do further research on pagan Greco-Roman religion, because that's what the Christians of the time had connected Vikings to. But I think you're right. Paganism is anything.
It's like a blanket
polytheistic
term.
Yeah, anything. Yeah.
And I would want to say you guys have 5 downloads in Iceland.
Oh, wow.
So
Well,
if you're listening,
We're famous in Iceland.
makes me feel good.
42 in Norway.
Hey-o.
And 252 in Denmark.
Oh, wow.
Wow. One person.
Denmark loves
2
us.
people have listened to all of our episodes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Shout out
look
to you
at that.
guys. If you're listening from literally anywhere but the United States, shout out to you.
Shout out.
We love you.
Congrats
Let
on
us
making
know.
it this far.
We love all
Yeah.
of you.
I've sent some mail to the UK. Yeah. And Australia and Canada.
Look at you.
Look at me.
Sending that mail.
Send it.
Yeah, remember when we had all of those cards laid out on the table to send out to people?
That was cool.
Cool seeing where everyone was at.
Yeah.
I should have done more research, honestly, on why they... I know why the Christians put them in the box of being pagan.
Do you mean
but
like there was a pagan religion they were referring to, and the Vikings were a different pagan religion, like something of their own?
I think it must be something like that, because they weren't that, because they had their own Norse mythology that they followed.
Yeah, but it's still pagan. It's just different kind.
Yeah. So there's that. And they were polytheistic. Any resemblance, okay, here we go. Any resemblance between the Greco-Roman paganism and the Norse mythologies are mostly coincidental. So the Christians writing about them saw that they were like, oh, there's a thunder god in both religions. They must be the Greco-Roman pagan religion.
Okay.
They weren't. It was different, but it was like, there's a freaking thunder god and a god for this and that, and every polytheistic.
Everyone has a freaking thunder god.
Yeah. I'm like, that's how religion works. Like, you make things up to explain how things are.
I mean, imagine hearing thunder and not knowing what it is. Of course it's a god.
Yeah. For sure, put a label on it. And bow down, bitches, because thunder is scary. So we have a lot of stuff from after the Viking Age telling us about the Vikings, but there's not a lot on how they actually practiced and worshiped. So they're mysterious. The verdict seems like it's still out on how cold-blooded the Vikings truly were. At the dawn of the Viking Age, the Vikings' main interaction with Europe was through raiding it. So not a strong, positive first step. They mostly raided towns on the coast, and the first documented Viking raids were mostly of monasteries. Monasteries were the perfect target. They were isolated. They had a lot of booty, a lot of money, valuable things, and monks were typically not good at fighting. And the Vikings weren't motivated by religion. They weren't seeking them out. It's for all of those reasons. They had a lot of valuable things there. They were simply strategists, and the religious places had the most booty for their buck, if you will. The Vikings didn't set out with the intent of destroying towns and everyone in them, but raids did tend to have that side effect. So I can definitely see why people think that they're blood hungry.
Definitely, but these same people are going and like raiding the Middle East at this time and doing all kinds of their own bad shit.
Yeah, and the Vikings never wanted to colonize or anything like that. They weren't like trying to spread their influence.
Yeah, they're raiding.
Yeah. So it's better.
Everyone is shit. Like
That's
everyone
true.
is shit. No, it's
Trying to tell me your shit doesn't stink.
Right.
It
Trying to tell me
stinks.
they're worse than you. We're all terrible.
We're all terrible.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I like that. Other sources paint the Vikings in a way we envision them based on like Hollywood movies. They claim that the Vikings couldn't understand why anyone would practice Christianity, and therefore they had a low tolerance for Christians, finding it especially hard to believe that their God was real if the Vikings were literally able to go into their churches and kill monks inside of them.
I mean, that's a strong argument.
I can see why someone could be passionate about that if you were a Viking and that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, it's like, this is who you're having guard your god, a freaking skinny bald man.
Can't be real.
Can't
Where's
be
the
real.
light? Ooh, right
Yeah.
here. Ooh, I
Can't
killed
even
you.
fight.
The Vikings just took anything of value to them, and that also included the people that they enslaved. But they weren't just raiding towns. They also started to trade all sorts of things, like you do. They had tools, they had weapons, they had jewelry, they had building materials, and soapstone, which was used to make cooking vessels. Ever heard of it? Because I hadn't.
Wait, heard of what? Cooking vessels?
Soapstone to make
Oh.
cooking vessels. So I'm like, I'd
Soapstone.
heard of lead. But the presence of Vikings why did I write it that way? Basically, the presence of these Vikings took these worn down villages. They were mostly just very small fishing towns, and they kind of gave them the chance to be something bigger than themselves, like Dublin. They turned Dublin into a bustling trade center. The city grew so much because of the Vikings' presence there that it became super prosperous, and the actual Dubliners kicked the Vikings out. They're like,
Why?
you gotta go. You've done your thing here. We're tired of you being all crazy and coming back from raids, and like, just get out. Let Dublin do its own thing.
Oh, now that they have
They have
everything
their
they
own.
want.
They have their own trade posts going. Everything's great, and now there's a lot of Viking heritage in Dublin to this day.
I want to
they're
go
able
to
like,
Ireland so
I
bad.
do too. Oh my gosh, Night Classy live tour to Ireland.
Oh my gosh. If you're Irish, tell everyone about this podcast so we can go to Ireland.
Ireland and friends. I'm trying to do a little like.
Well,
tour.
UK, Ireland.
Yeah.
Where else? We could also go to like Scandinavia because we have 42 downloads in Norway. So
and now we
we're
know
basically there.
all
We've got
about there.
78 in Ireland and 1,600 in the UK. So,
All right, there you go.
so if you're over there in the UK listening, spread the word.
Yeah, here's how you market it. You say, "Oh my gosh, listen to these dumb Americans."
Yeah,
and
aren't
everyone will be
they
like,
so annoying. Someone in our reviews said we had Beverly Hills accents, which I do, but you don't. You
Get
have a
that.
nice accent, so that's slander.
"No accent is nice accent." But according to the people here in Memphis, I do have an accent.
Well, you do have an accent, but you have like a nice, like Southern Ohio neutral accent.
Thank you.
I sound like a fucking Kardashian, but that's okay.
I like it. That's why I'm friends with you, actually. I was like, I need a good Kardashian copy in my life.
I have one friend because everyone else hates my accent so much they avoid me.
And that gives me power. Okay, let's keep this going. I have, not that much further to go. Okay, so they made Dublin happen. They're like, we're going to make it happen. They freaking made it happen. But after a while, it turned out that raiding and looting during the Viking Age was just a phase. They realized that there were easier ways to get rich other than extortion.
It seems like the easiest way to get rich is stealing, doing what they were doing.
Well, they did it for so long.
They're just tired of it.
They're not tired of it.
Oh.
They developed a reputation.
Oh.
So they would just pull up and people would just give them money.
Oh my God.
Instead of getting their asses beat.
But they can't take it because they have to kill people to get the money.
It's not stealing it.
if they
give
my
it to you.
gosh.
Look at God.
They Norse gods must be real
Look at Thor.
because God was really looking out for them.
Yeah, he was. So they had a great time. They didn't have to raid and loot people anymore. It saved everyone a world of pain. And they just gave their goods away. So after that, the Vikings ended up entering the world of trade and
They're
settlement.
like, it's just not fun anymore.
Yeah, what do I have to live for if I
I didn't
can't
earn this.
literally kill people? Turns out they're all psychopaths. Just kidding. Because Vikings are basically just the young men of this time who are Scandinavians and Norwegian. So it's like everyone else was just like normal people, farmers, and then the young men went out and did all this stuff, and they're the Vikings. But after they got into the trade and didn't have to do so much raiding and looting, they wanted to gain wealth and they wanted to own land that they could farm on. And they weren't colonizing because they didn't want a Viking state. They didn't want a Viking empire. They didn't care too much about influencing the surrounding areas. They just wanted their own land. So Viking influence just depended on the area, and it varied greatly. For example, the Vikings in Russia and Normandy were a small minority, and they assimilated to the dominant culture really quickly. But in places like Iceland and Greenland, there weren't that many people to begin with. So when the Vikings started to settle land there, they actually became the majority of the population. And so they had a lot of influence. And that's how the Scandinavian Viking culture came to dominate. And there's such a strong tie between Iceland and Greenland and Scandinavia today. Eventually, the Viking raids end completely. Wealth amongst Vikings was not widely distributed towards the end of the Viking Age, and there were just a few who had land and money. Many of the men working the land didn't actually own the land. They were just getting paid not that much. And the small coastal towns that they were raiding in, their heyday, eventually came under rule of various kings. There were then trained armies that could defend the land against the Vikings. And one of the Vikings' best advantages was just pulling up on them, surprising them, and them not having any armies. But now that there's more people, the population has gone up, there's a military, there's kings. Each town has its own little defense thing going on. So the small towns also moved their key targets more inland. It just made the element of surprise not quite as surprising for the Vikings. And their buildings were built more soundly, and that made it a lot more difficult to destroy entire towns when your town is made of brick and not wood. Christianity also found its way into Norse culture. Missionaries converted Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish people. Some rulers over these regions also forced conversion over their people, if you can believe it or not.
Shock.
Viking raiding practices definitely clashed with Christian beliefs. The thou shalt not kill section of
but
it all.
It's fine when Christians do it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. They decided that in the 11th century, the Catholic Church would uphold 2 edicts basically banning violence. Not just any violence, though. Christian to Christian violence.
Everyone else is fair game.
Yeah, you can't fight with your brother.
You're converting them.
Make them eat it. And they threaten them with excommunication. So it's like, if you're not a Christian, then we're literally going to force you out of your home and your family will be here, or they can go with you, whatever, but you're not going to be here. So that's an issue for people.
That's what Jesus would do.
And he did. So by that time, most people were Christian in these regions. So fighting and raiding wasn't really an option anymore unless you wanted to be exiled. And what we now see in the eyes of history as the final event of the Viking Age was the Battle of Stamford Bridge. King Hardrada, a Viking king, also the king of Norway. He had to use the little double dipper. Little twofer, decided he wanted to take back some English land.
Oh, shit.
He led 300 ships with 11,000 of his men to England's shores. But psych, joke's on him, the English started the fight. As they're pulling up, they're like, we're going to do a little sneak attack. No, the English, ba, 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 ba. They start the fight. They caught the Vikings off guard, and everything goes to shit from there.
But they had 300 ships.
It wasn't enough.
That's crazy.
There must have been a mole. That's what I'm thinking. Somebody was spying. Somebody told the English to expect it.
I mean, it's probably pretty easy to see 300 ships coming.
Yeah,
that
they're
doesn't
not
sound
stealthy.
inconspicuous. Yeah.
They're like, damn it, we should have gone back to the ships without sails. King Hardrada was killed by an arrow, went right through his neck, pierced his throat. Yep, he made that exact sound. The Vikings were unsuccessful, obviously, in taking back English land, and it's seen as the final nail in the coffin for the Vikings' way of life.
Whose God is real now, bitches?
Well, Marvel's making plenty of money with Thor, so I guess they do live on. The Vikings were successful. They spread their influence thanks to their settlements, exchange of goods, and throughout the process, their exchange of cultures. So it's up to you. What do you believe? The ruthless bloodshed is what they wanted, or is it simply more flashy? And that's why we think of bloodshed when we think of Vikings, who they just wanted to fight.
I like the cartoon version of Vikings.
What's the cartoon version?
Where they're just like crazy fighters who wear horns on their heads and
yes,
do all this shit.
I want the horned Vikings back.
It's the most fun, and I don't care what really happened. I like to think of Vikings how I think of them.
History doesn't matter.
Listen, I got a degree in history.
I've seen all I needed to see.
I saw all I need to see, and I get to decide what I believe.
Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully this lesson helped you a little bit. I know it definitely taught me something, so hopefully it did the same for you.
Oh, it taught me everything because I knew nothing.
And now I'm reverting back to where I knew nothing.
I'm now choosing to believe what I want to.
And if everything we know about them is like oral history, but most of it is just these sagas written hundreds of years after they existed, I think we can choose at this point.
I think we can too. Have you watched the show Vikings?
No.
I saw like 1 or 2 episodes. There's like a lot of violence and sex, which I love. And I think I'm going to go watch that show.
I love how you love sex and blood and all that stuff, but you don't like big mouth, literally cartoon dicks.
I don't. I'm kind of a prude. So big mouth just goes across the line for me. I don't care for toilet humor, and I feel like when you get too sexual, that veers into toilet humor territory, and it makes me uncomfortable.
Okay.
You don't like toilet humor, but you're getting like Reddit karma for your poop jokes.
Other people like toilet humor, and I'm a comedian, so I have to play into the people.
She likes poop when it's coming out of her mouth.
Yes. And when it is been brought on by Chipotle.
Yes. Chipotle poop is the best poop. Mic drop. That's it. I'm out.
It's your trophy for eating Chipotle. Good job. You had a great day. You ate Chipotle.
Okay. Well, I think that's a perfect place to stop.
Yeah, I think we're
Chipotle.
Just buttering across the finish line here.
No, we're not.
I'm kidding.
Revving our engines across the
I was
finish
using
line.
the word sputtering kind of punnily, thinking about Chipotle.
It was punnily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I liked it. Poopily crossing the finish line. There we
Farting
go.
across the finish line. Okay. So that's it.
That was it. Oh, I have my sources.
Okay.
I do have sources this week.
that was all from your brain.
Every other week, I made up that entire lesson.
You're like, I just kind of remembered parts from school.
Yeah.
Cartoons.
I'm just going to say textbook from high school.
Cengage. Okay, we have The Vikings, Crash Course World History 224 by Crash Course on YouTube. What Happened to the Vikings by the Infographics Show on YouTube. A ton of articles from NorseMythology.org. A ton of articles from Historia.com, including 10 Things You May Not Know About the Vikings by Jenny Cohen and ScandinavianFacts.com.
Of course.
Naturally.
Natürlich. That's German, not Scandinavian. I wish I knew how to say it.
I thought you were just lit.
No.
Naturally.
Natürlich. No, I am lit, but I still know words.
Too lit to not quit. That's how
I am now too lit to quit. I'm so hungry. Let's end this.
Oh my God.
If you made it this
said
far,
that.
congratulations.
Great energy. I'm hungry. Let's end this.
We said this is going on too long. Thank you for listening, and I'm sorry,
We love you
and
guys.
we love you.
If you're in Iceland, Norway, Scandinavia, Scandinavic, or anything like that, just DM us, please.
Yeah, we're converting to kilograms for you guys, so remember
So,
that.
You're welcome. Yeah,
Kilograms,
remember that before you raid our
kilograms.
village. Kilograms. Yeah, there's
Don't
some
rate
things you can
Rather
do.
than rating us, rate, review, and subscribe.
Do that. Follow us on social media. Tell a friend. You guys know what to do. Thank you for listening. We love you. 3, 2, 1. Class dismissed.
Great.
Wow.
Feeling silly.
That was a long one.